it's what is excluded right now. If you try to do that, they'll come and close you down. They don't want the competition. Already, I've had a couple of members of the Mexican Congress come up and visit with me a few years ago, and they were interested in this. And they actually now have a parallel way of saving money, because the Mexican people themselves have been wiped out so many times with inflation,
right,
that I don't know how many months it's been going on, but you can put your money in a silver account, guarded and protected and honored by the government. So you have a parallel silver standard down there, at least for savings, and I would like to work on along those lines. And, with computers and all, the international currencies markets adjust every single minute of every single day. So we could adjust with parallel standards.
So people like myself and other listeners out there that have responded in their own in their own communities in their own way and have said, okay, if you guys are going to keep printing money, I'm going to start stockpiling metal. I'm going to buy silver coins from the Northwest Reserve or from that Canadian outfit and what have you, that with the and they're 0.999 of a percent of troy ounce. That's what you're talking about. And what about the state of Montana saying, hey, you said the Constitution said we can't print money. It doesn't say we can't coin it, right? Couldn't the states compete as well?
No, the states. The states they can't print money. The states are instructed. They have few instructions from the Constitution. They can use nothing else other than silver and gold as legal tender.
Right.
And they're compelled to use Federal Reserve notes, which are is paper money. But no, the states could demand. And I think the safest way to do that as an individual or any group would be using, the U.S. government silver coins. If you use just a silver ounce, they might, give you a little bit of argument, which they will. But if we used, like right now, the United States government mints 1 ounce of silver, and they call it a dollar. It has no meaning. But if you and I decided it's a dollar and we want to deal in that, that is all right now currently being fought in the courts because somebody has done it, and so far they haven't lost their fight because it says $1 legal tender. They did this assuming that if you owed me $1, you're never going to give me a silver dollar. It wouldn't make any sense because it's worth $15.
Right.
But if it was a mutual exchange and we started using $1 for $15 or $20, then they have to prove that it's not legal tender, which they can't because it's such a silly system that we have. They have no definition of the dollar currently, in court, because if you have any argument in court that you always have to settle in the Federal Reserve notes. So you have to change that to get rid of the legal tender laws allowing the Federal Reserve notes to work. But you also have to get rid of taxes on gold and silver. Today, if you go buy a silver eagle, you go to the bank or you go to the coin store, you have to pay a sales tax. And then if that value goes up, which means the dollar went down, you pay a capital gains tax on your money.
Ridiculous.
No, that doesn't work. So that would be my goal, is to just legalize the competition.
Let me ask you another question. Congressman Ron Paul from Texas with us today. Are you concerned, or I should say I know you are concerned. How concerned are you with the rumblings coming out of the Chinese and the Russians about, we may not need this dollar thing here. We may need an alternative.
Well, I think it's a big deal, and right now it's in their interest not to hurt the dollar because they hold so many of them. China probably has 1 trillion of them, so they can threaten and all, but they have to be very cautious.
Right.
But if things get out of control, which generally is the case, that the value of a currency goes down rapidly toward the end, and then if they start dumping just out of desperation, then that's the end for the dollar. And then a new currency has to be devised. Then the local government, like our government, would have to decide, are we going to redefine the dollar and go back to sound money, or are we going to just turn it over to the World Bank and IMF and the United Nations, which is right now, that I'm quite sure they're working on that right now.
Well, just a money laundering outfit, if you ask me. Well, it's been a little over a year since you and I started talking, Congressman, and we started talking in January of last year when you were running for the presidency, and most of your party, most of the Republican Party, had impugned you, had mocked you, had made fun of you. You got laughed at by Rudy Giuliani when you mentioned monetary policy. How good do you feel about the fact that more people now, I mean, you've actually had an impact here. People are having conversations now about monetary policy.
Well, I feel good about it, that they're paying attention to sound economic policy. I don't necessarily delight in the fact that, I worried about a major financial crisis, and it comes. You can't glory in the fact that, oh, yeah, I told you so. Ha, ha, ha. It still concerns me. So I hope I'm wrong about what happens to the dollar, because the breakdown of the dollar is going to be a lot worse than what we've seen so far. So, but I think it's good that they're talking about the Federal Reserve. A year ago or 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have had about 3 or 4 people co-sign that bill, to open up the books on the Federal Reserve. So I think we're making progress, but I don't think it's me as much as what has been done. People who have laid the groundwork for this in the study of economics, Austrian economics, and radio talk shows like yours. It reaches a lot of people, and I'm impressed that the college kids are so excited about studying this issue. You said you saw the signs and the Fed, and at some of my rallies, people started shouting that, and of course, I thought that would be a natural title for a book, so I'm working on that. And it really wasn't something that I said, well, okay, let's start a program and the Fed. How about saying, shout and the Fed? It was spontaneous. So people are starting to realize this, and this is what we should have expected, and I've always anticipated, that finally the people wake up and they sense something seriously wrong, and even a 10-year-old can figure out that if you take pieces of paper and write a 1 on it, it's $1. If you put a 0, it's worth 10 times as much. I mean, they say that monetary policy is complicated, but I don't think it is that complicated.
Well, and then the other thing, and we're just about out of time with you,
right.
The other thing is you wrote an Amazon.com bestseller. It's called Revolution Manifesto here. Aren't you heartened? Because I know that I am, and I see the rumblings out there. The Founding Fathers are making a comeback. The Constitution is making a comeback. And if nothing else, we can always look forward to that and to building upon that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I think so. And when the young people come to my office, I always ask them what motivates them to get interested. And most of the time they say, well, I like your respect and determination to follow the Constitution. And then they also bring up the Federal Reserve System. And, of course, they think that we're too careless with the way we waste money overseas, which I talk about all the time as well.
Right. Well, and that's all made possible because of the fiat currency.
Oh, yeah.
If you actually had to go to a taxpayer, Congressman Paul, and say, hey, you got 15 Krugerrands over there. I need 2 of them to give to the International Monetary Fund so they can launder it and give it to the Krauts and give it to the French and give it to our buddies over there in Africa. I don't think the average American would be so glib with their withholding anymore.
No, and that's good that they're holding these in the 30s. That's essentially what was done. Roosevelt took the gold from the people, and that's the gold that they used. When they set up the IMF after World War II, they used the gold that we had taken from the American people, and we weren't even allowed to own the gold. So, no, if it were more direct, and that's why a gold coin standard is so important, that people can actually hold the coins if they want to. And you're right, if somebody knocks on your door and either asks you for your gun or your coins, then all of a sudden it becomes very real that they're taking away something very valuable to you.
Well, he's a congressman, he's an author. He's probably on the DHS wanted list.
Wait a minute.
He's an Austrian economist. I was kidding about that. He's an Austrian economist, and he started a little miniature revolution himself. Always a pleasure, my friend. Keep up the hard work, and we'll keep spreading the word, okay?
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
All right. Thank you, Congressman Ron Paul there. Now, you see, I got to tell you, he's smart. He's smart. There wasn't any of this, we need to have this policy here because people are hurting out there. And he may say things, well, people are not as well off as they were because their money has been devalued. Did you hear him tell the stories there? He knows the history. He told a story about the inflation after the Civil War. Told a story about the gold coins being confiscated by Roosevelt illegally. Told the story of, gave us a plan of how to get back to sound money.